We are super thrilled to have an amazing guest here today, Dave Seidenberg, a guy who's been in the wrestling community that I've known from a distance for a long time. Got to connect with him a little bit through his content on Instagram, The Inner Champ. And the stuff that he puts out is so relatable to guys, to dads, this self-improvement journey that we're all on. And you could just tell from looking at him that he practices what he preaches. The guy's about the cold plunge life. He's got the meditation going.
Absolutely.
I was kind of saying a little bit over the last few weeks that I was kind of scrambling for answers for myself to feel better, to find my peace. I think a lot of guys, unfortunately, find their peace in the wrong things. Mm-hmm. Where Dave has really been very vulnerable, talked about some of the things that have got him to where he is today, and he's plugging and playing on solutions to, like we said, find that peace. So, Dave, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I love what you guys are doing, especially a lot of the talk about mental health. I think it's very important because everybody's dealing with it, whether they admit it to themselves or to somebody else or not, but everybody's dealing with it. So I think it's really important to talk about it. And that's kind of how I got onto this journey myself.
That's awesome.
I'll get right into it. I didn't really have a pivotal moment in mind that kind of comes to mind, but I did have a few goals over, call it, the last 10 years on this personal development journey. And a few of those goals were, one was managing my emotions. So I had a really big anger problem. I'd go to 0 to 100. I was getting in a lot of fights, and I really didn't like that. I wanted to get that under control, just not having that buffer zone. Like, literally,
But were you always like that? And I don't mean to interrupt.
I was.
You were?
Yeah, since a little kid, I was like that. Yeah, so, like,
You just had it in you.
I just had it in me, yeah, just a big anger issue, and I really didn't like it. I wanted to get that under control. I wanted to be a better husband, and I wanted to be a better father when that came time. So right now I have three kids. I didn't want to harm them in any way, whether it be yelling or hitting them. And I also didn't want them to pick up any bad traits. So I really wanted to get that anger under control. Next, I wanted to also do a better job at managing stress and anxiety. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to succeed, and it was causing a lot of anxiety and stress, and I would just kind of shove that down, and it was manifesting in other ways. Like, I had a lot of digestive issues, and I was a lot of back pain, and I'd constantly be getting knots in my shoulders and throwing my back out at the gym. I'm like, what the hell? I'm in good shape. I shouldn't be constantly throwing my back out, but it was because I was kind of shoving down that stress and that anxiety. So I wanted to do a better job at managing that.
That's wild that harnessing that stress and, like, not letting it out could
Sure.
actually put pain on different parts of your body, starting probably with your stomach.
Yeah.
And I was always told you carry stress in your back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
man.
can see that.
So those negative emotions, they have like an energy to them.
Yep.
And if you're shoving them down, they're going to find a way to manifest in your body one way or another. So if you've had a knee injury in the past, you're going to really start to feel that knee injury if you're shoving down those emotions. For me, it was a lot of acid reflux and heartburn, and just because I was shoving it all down in here, right? So it was manifesting that way. A few other goals I had in mind on this journey is I wanted to increase my confidence and my self-worth. So I was doing a lot of comparing myself to other people and placing a lot of importance on my achievements and what I was doing and accomplishing. And that comparison and seeking that external validation and how others view me, that was really, it was causing a lot of insecurities and basing your self-worth off that. I didn't have a lot of high self-worth because no matter how much I accomplished, I still felt that void. So I didn't have that self-worth that you really need to be mentally healthy.
Damn.
Additionally, I struggled throughout my whole entire life in the traditional school system, getting good grades. So in college, I came across Adderall, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I could finally study. Like, I was the guy that would open up a book and read a page and just have absolutely no idea what I just read.
Me too, man.
But I knew that, Adderall was great. It was helping me study. You feel great when you take it. But I just knew that it wasn't good in the long run. The side effects were terrible, and I knew that taking any type of medication for a long period of time is just not good. So I wanted to find a holistic way that I can mimic those effects, increase my focus and my memory. So that was another goal I had in mind. And last but not least, around 10 years ago, I came across the book, The Secret. And I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Secret. It's a lot about the law of attraction and manifestation and whatever, basically like attracts like. So whatever you're focused on, whatever you're thinking, whether it be positive or negative, you're kind of sending out this frequency and you're going to get that right back. So I became really fascinated with that idea and that concept. And the more that I researched these goals and tried to accomplish them, so managing my emotions, anger, fear, insecurities, anxiety, increasing my focus, increasing self-worth, the law of attraction, the more I researched those, the more I was brought down the path of neuroscience, psychology, growth mindset, and nutrition.
Yep.
And they all overlap and intertwine with each other. And what it really comes down to is a healthy brain and a healthy mind. So let's start with the brain, with the mind. 95% of our day, we're walking around on autopilot. We're not aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our behaviors, our habits. We're just kind of drifting through the day based off of how we've been thinking, acting our whole entire life. Like
Right.
It's second nature. Kind of like in wrestling, when you practice a move 100 times, you might not even remember what you hit in a match. It was second nature.
Right. You weren't even thinking about it. I just want to stop you short real quick because as you're on that topic of these thoughts that we're having throughout the day, I've been comparing them to like a downward like avalanche. So it's like you have some of these negative thoughts and it just creates, as it keeps rolling down this snowy hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel like a lot of people are in that negative state and it's just pulling. And it's like we talked about the fork in the road. The more you make that decision that you know you're not supposed to do, the further away you get from the good side.
Yeah.
And I feel like these negative thoughts become these tidal waves for us. How do you kind of, or how did you, or how do you kind of block them? You remember Joey Langle?
Of course, yeah.
Well, Joey Lango, when we were coaching together, he used to tell the kids to have a mental roadblock, he would call it. And, you know, if you're on deck and you're having these negative thoughts, he would have them close their eyes and picture road close sign, you know, and literally picture that in your mind. You have these negative thoughts, you block them with the road sign, you think about some positive things, and you move on, move away from it. Not to cut you off, but like, what are some things that you either do or did or learned that kind of stop that negative avalanche?
So that comes down to self-awareness, and I'm gonna get there in a second. So let me paint a picture for you first. So there's a neuroscientist, Joe Dispenza. He paints a really good picture about the way we're kind of walking around on autopilot and not being aware of these thoughts, because a lot of those negative thoughts, like you said, they become a tidal wave, but you're not even aware. You don't even really, you feel like crap, but you're not aware of these thoughts. So, like I said, 95% of the day, we're walking around on autopilot, just kind of drifting through the day with the same thoughts, emotions, behaviors, actions. Think of it this way. When you first wake up in the morning, what's the first thing everybody does? They grab their phone.
Go on their phone.
Right? They grab their phone, they start scrolling through their phone, then they get off at the same side of the bed, they shuffle over to the bathroom, and you start brush your teeth with the same hand. You hop in the shower, you start watching yourself the same order that you always do, and you're thinking the same thoughts like, this sucks, I'm so tired, and I don't feel like going to freaking work today. And then
Are you at my house when I wake up?
He's got a camera, dude. Right? He's like painting a picture of your life.
This is everybody. And then so you hop out of the shower, then you start getting dressed. You same foot forward, you're putting the same clothes on in the same order that you always do. You shuffle down to the coffee maker, start making your coffee. Maybe you start scrolling on your phone again. you hop in the car, you're like, shit, I don't feel like dealing with my boss or my manager today. And, that one coworker is such a pain in the ass. They get on my nerves. I don't feel like talking to them. And then it's, oh man, it's freezing out today. Now it's getting colder. You're like, it's so cold. This sucks. And then now you're in traffic and you're like, what the heck is this person doing driving 60 miles per hour in the fast lane? You're getting all pissed off. And it's the same thing over and over again. Then you start all over again the next day, right? And it's right back in the same routines, the same thoughts. And it's been said that we as humans, we think on average between 40,000 and 70,000 thoughts a day. 40,000 and 70,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts being negative.
Damn, that's crazy.
Right. But the problem is we're not even aware of it, right? Like I said, we're on autopilot. And the reason being is because they're coming from our subconscious. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing about our subconscious is it's heavily influenced in the first 7 years of our life. So the first 7 years of our life, the left side of our brain, that logical, that analytical side, the side that does all the rationale, that's not fully developed. So whatever we're witnessing, whatever we're being told, we're just accepting it. We're just accepting it and we're downloading that to our subconscious. So if you're in an environment that's surrounded with, a lot of yelling and fighting and a lot of worry, maybe people are stressed over finances and maybe you're being talked down to as a kid and maybe you're being told to mask your emotions like, hey, don't cry, babies cry. And
this guy is so facts right now.
Right. So all of that, you're just downloading it and accepting it to your subconscious. And then you're witnessing, maybe a lot of gossip going on and people are comparing themselves to other people and what does this person drive and what job does this person have? So now you're seeing that all the importance is being placed on achievements and maybe winning in sports or maybe how much money you make and what kind of job you have and the house you own. So you're just downloading. And all that's downloaded to your subconscious. And that is going to cause a lot of stress and anxiety and insecurity as an adult because it just downloaded to your subconscious. Yeah. Now that's with you.
Damn.
Right.
How did you get conscious of that, though? Like, at what point did you say, you know what, self, enough's enough. I need to get out of my daily routine where I'm finding comfort. I need to get uncomfortable, make some changes, do some reflection, and reboot a little bit.
Sure, that's a great question. So I started learning about the ego. So the ego,
ego drive you crazy.
It sure does. So first you have your true authentic self. That's who you're born as. It's you at your core before anything's influenced you, right? That's just who you are as a human being. The ego is a separate identity that you consciously create based off of those experiences the first 7 years of your life, everything that you downloaded, and experiences throughout your life. And the way I like to describe it is think of it as this mask that you put on, this identity that you think that you need to not only survive, but thrive in society. So it's how you think you're supposed to act and the person you're supposed to be. There's a sociologist called Charles Horton Cooley, and he would say that I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
Yeah,
100%.
So if I think that you think I'm successful, then okay, I'm successful.
That's that fake it till you make it mentality, right? And I've been there a million times. You know, people look at me or Pete out here, and a couple people have said it to, I know me, but I know Pete as well. They see two guys sitting here that appear to be successful, appear to have it all together. And, I'm faking it till I make it right now because I don't have it all together.
Sure.
I could be fighting with my kids. I could be not pumped and not happy with my wife, whatever it is. Things could be going down the tubes at work. I try not to let anybody know where I'm at, but you got to reflect and you got to be honest with yourself. You got to check that ego, right?
Right.
And be able to self-reflect and make progress as a person.
100%.
So I'm happy to hear you say that and mention ego because I've said it a million times. ego has gotten me jammed up a few times.
And
I'm not talking about business. I'm not talking about parenting. Just in general in life, whether we were out and I thought it was tougher than somebody, because I, similar to you, have always been very angry and had some aggression issues. But without being able to check that ego, I'm probably not sitting here today as self-aware of who I am as I am right now.
Yeah, right, 100%. And, the ego also causes a lot of stress and anxiety because you don't have what's called mind-body coherence. So mind-body coherence, I like to think of it as like you just have inner peace, and it's because you're being your true, authentic self. The ego is fed by comparing yourself to other people, showing off, look what I own, look what I have, look at the job I have, how much money I'm making. That's all throwing off your mind-body coherence. It doesn't feel good on the inside.
Yeah.
So once you start recognizing that ego and, when you're living with that mask on and that separate identity, when you're living to what other people view you as, then once you start recognizing that, then you could start recognizing your negative thoughts, your negative feelings, your negative behaviors. And so, a lot of people, they think when I say the first 7 years of your life, it heavily, so they're like, well, Dave, I'm 35, 40 years old. Am I screwed? Is it too late? Is the damage done? And no, it's not, because what you really need to do is, so one, you gain that self-awareness. Self-awareness is recognizing your ego, recognizing those negative thought patterns, those negative behaviors, those negative feelings. And there's a few effective ways to become self-aware. And in my opinion, the three most effective ways are, one, through mindfulness meditation. So just kind of sitting in a quiet place, acknowledging your thoughts, but without any judgment. The second way is through journaling. So anytime you're feeling, like that mind-body coherence is out of whack, you're having anxiety, you have low self-esteem, you're worried about something, limiting beliefs, whatever it may be, you have those bad feelings inside, just start journaling it out. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're doing at that time, journaling it out. And the third way, I know it might not have worked for some people, depending, but therapy was big for me. So, but this is a form of therapy in itself. So for me, I was lucky I had a really good therapist. So if you have a good therapist, they see things from an unbiased point of view. Yeah. They see things through a different lens. So they'll be able to notice some negative thought patterns that you have, some limiting beliefs that you have, negative behaviors that you're doing. And they'll be able to help you identify them, but they'll also give you some tools to work through them if you have a good therapist.
Right. Well, if you have a good one. Good. Yeah. No, you go.
So we were discussing before the camera started rolling, without me knowing, that you were going to say you had a positive experience at therapy. Now, I've tried to talk to a therapist, but maybe I never gave it enough time. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, and maybe you could help me figure out how I can pursue it maybe again. I can't sit there and tell you everything that bothers me without it really bothering me. Mm-hmm. And when I'm telling you how it's making me angry or upsetting me, and you're like, well, how does it make you feel? I already told you how I feel. And if we're asking why I feel this way, I don't know. Right. It's just how I respond. I have a really big fight or flight instinct, and generally I want to fight. Mm-hmm. I'm not really big on emotion, probably in that first 7 years of life. Like we discussed earlier, I was taught to shove that shit down inside of me, not discuss it, and, for lack of a better term, man up. I'd really like to know if you have some insight on how I could break that cycle. And maybe, I've said it before, sitting here talking to Pete is enough therapy for me. And, right now it is. But I've tried to help people because I can't figure out how to help myself. And that's me being as vulnerable as I can and as truthful and honest as I can be. Pete knows I'll throw myself in to help in any situation, just like he will. But I'm doing that because, like I said, I can't find the ability to do it for me. Now, I've gotten significantly better as a person than I used to be. A lot of self-reflection, a lot of checking the ego. And I realized one thing. Everybody thinks, everybody always says money can buy happiness. Money can't buy happiness. But you get to kind of choose your own kind of misery. But I don't want to be miserable. I want to be able to enjoy life. Yeah. And If that means I'm enjoying life and I'm living in the backseat of my car, I'd probably be okay with that right now, because there are some days where those struggles are really dark. And to hear you say that you had such a positive experience with therapy makes me wonder if I could have that same experience, but maybe I have to open my mind to it a little more, or maybe if you have some suggestions on tools for me to cope with it.
Yeah, so I went into therapy like on a mission. I was like, I am becoming the best. It sounds cliche, but becoming the best version of myself that I could be. And I know I have some shit that's wrong that I need to work on. And I'm ready to be as vulnerable as possible. And I'm ready for anything. So simultaneously, I was meditating a ton at that time already. So I was gaining a lot of self-awareness. Stuff was coming up that I knew wasn't right. And I knew that I had issues that I needed help with. And I was just ready to put it all out on the table. And I think that was it was very effective.
Yeah. It sounds almost like you prepared for the therapy.
I went with like a clipboard. She was like, okay, wow. Like,
which I'm sure the therapist was thrilled about, and it really created a good two-way street. So if you are going to try to go down that road, you should try to do a few things for yourself just to kind of get a little bit organized on your thoughts. The meditation I know is huge. Some of these things that we keep hearing about that we know makes us feel better, try to go down that route a little bit. Come in there prepared, come in there open-minded, knowing, hey, I signed up for this. Yeah. I know that I'm not feeling the way I'm supposed to be feeling. I know that this is your job and what you do, even if it's just a few tools that they give you. Yeah. But if you come in angry, pissed off, like, yeah, I'm fucking mad. Or like, okay. Well, can you tell us a little bit more? Yeah. Well,
you have to
why
be
are you mad?
Yeah, that's it. Like, I was so vulnerable. I went through everything and anything right off the bat from session 1, because I was like, what am I here for?
You didn't even need a session 2. So you're like, oh, all right.
She ended up like saying, like, why do you still come here? Like, afterwards, she's like, you're teaching me. And it's just because, like, I was like, I'm just constantly aggressively trying to gain more self-awareness, because the more self-awareness you have, the more you can make changes and be at peace.
For sure.
So back to what I was saying, like, it's never too late to change. Like, you're not confined by that first 7 years of your life. Once you begin to gain self-awareness, now you can start to make changes. And that's done by hacking your subconscious. That's done through a concept called neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and change over time. Basically, it's our God-given superpower to rewire our brain. You can actually rewire our brain. So you have all these existing connections, all these negative thoughts from your whole entire life. Those are connections that you could start to unwire and then form new positive ones, new connections.
You have to be willing to, of course.
Of course, yeah. It takes a ton of work. So I'll tell you how you hack your subconscious. So first is through meditation. So there's tons of different types of meditation, and I suggest that you try as many as you can, because the more you try, the more you'll kind of come into your own and find your own what works for you. But there's 2 meditations that you absolutely want to start with. One, we went over the mindfulness meditation. That's going to help you gain self-awareness. The second one is a visualization meditation. So we want to hack our subconscious with a visualization meditation. You want to have a goal in mind of what you want to accomplish, who you want to be, how you want to think, and how you want to feel. So when you start visualizing that, and you have a goal of hacking your subconscious, there's a very important time to do that. And it's as soon as you wake up and as soon as you right before you go to sleep. And the reason being is because this is when your brain is in what's called a theta state. So when your brain's in a theta state, your brain waves start to slow down and your subconscious comes wide open. So whatever you're doing during that time is going to download to your subconscious.
So it sounds like if those are the 2 points in time that those are going to be the best for your self-improvement, I think it could also go the other way around, because those are also the same times that we were talking about waking up, going on your phone, doing the same monotonous thing. At night, when I was meditating, I was more relaxed. I would be able to go to sleep easier. If I don't, and I don't really take time for myself or anything, that same moment that you're talking about, I'm just picturing it as myself, that's when I start keeping myself up at night. because instead of like opening things up to the future or feeling good or this me that I want to feel like, that's the time of night that I start to worry.
Right.
You know, I start to stress about things at work or start to feel like the whole house is sleeping. And now I'm starting to get like that tidal wave starts happening.
Sure.
Then I go to bed with the tidal wave and I wake up and what's the first thing I'm thinking about? The last thing I thought about the night before, which was
100%.
the loan that couldn't close or this and that,
Sure.
you know? But you're self-aware enough to know that that's not right. He literally just gave you a nice solution and it's relaxing. It's calming.
Oh, man.
You're doing good for yourself.
Oh,
you
I
know?
need more inner champ in my life, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And I mean that with the utmost sincerity.
Yeah.
Because like you said, for me, I'm more at peace. It doesn't sound crazy, but I'm more at peace when I'm at war at work than I am when I'm in bed, whether it's when I'm waking up or when I'm going to sleep.
There's no time to think about anything else. So it's just
when I'm at work and I'm in the moment, it doesn't matter what we're dealing with. I'm good on the fly.
Sure.
Let's figure it out. Let's put our heads down, run through that wall. When I'm sitting there and it's just me, the lights are off, and the house is quiet,
Yep.
I'm alone with my thoughts.
tough place to be.
It's scary, bro.
Yeah,
It
man.
gets scary,
Sure.
especially if you got a little bit of shit going on. I can sit there and I can harp on something. I'm big on fixing problems. If there's something that like I couldn't figure out in 5 minutes, I will sit there all fucking night thinking about why I couldn't come up with a resolution. And it could be something minimal. I'll wake up still thinking about it in the morning. Like, how are we attacking this? I want to be at work at 6:30 before everybody is there because I want to start my day with no one around me. I want to accomplish the tasks from yesterday that I didn't complete, and I need that time to focus on preparing for the shit that I felt I failed at. So
The day before.
correct. So if there was an issue, let's say an issue today, tonight, if I don't put it to bed by the time I go home, I'm thinking about it when I go to sleep.
It happens to me a
And
lot.
when I wake up, I'm thinking about it. That's why I want to be at work at 6:30 before everybody's there. I want to be focusing on rectifying that task. I want it resolved by 7 when everybody starts showing up. And if not by 7, it's got to be resolved by the time we open at 8.
So, like, one thing I like to do is, like, if you know that that's going to be your time to deal with it, let it be, man. That's you know, 6:30 is worry time. That's time where I'm gonna handle that.
Right.
But so back to getting to hacking your subconscious, like you said, what are most people doing during the first thing in the morning? Their brain's in theta state. It's slowed down. Their subconscious is wide open, and they're grabbing their phone. And what are you scrolling through on your phone? You're scrolling through social media. People are arguing and trolling each other, right?
Negativity, comparing yourself to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Nothing good.
Nothing good. There's political debates. There's wars going on. You're seeing in the news about mass shootings. So right now, your subconscious is wide open, man. And you're downloading all that. So then you're going to have stress and anxiety. That's going to carry throughout the whole entire day. So I want to take advantage of that time. So that's where I'm going to visualize exactly what do I want to accomplish, who do I want to be, how do I want to act, how do I want to feel. And another thing I like to do during that time is affirmations. So I have my goals that are written down, and then I'll take those goals and then I'll write them in affirmation form. So as if they've already been accomplished and I'm grateful for them, and then I'll record them on my phone, saying them, and then I'll listen to that after my morning and nighttime meditation. Because remember, your subconscious is wide open.
Do you do this every day?
Every day, every morning, every night. So now that's downloading to my subconscious. And if that's downloading to my subconscious, my actions and my thoughts are going to be aligned with that in my waking hours.
Yeah.
And not only that, so you're starting to rewire your brain for exactly how you want to think, act, feel, be. Your brain is going to start pointing out and noticing more opportunities that are in line with what you're looking for, with what you're visualizing, with what you're saying. It's no different than if I say, hey, on the way home today, like, keep an eye out for a green car. What's going to happen? You're going to see green cars all over the place because that's what you're focused on. So that's how you start to hack your subconscious. And then... yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, when did like the therapy session start? Like when? Like what was the timeline on like when? Because, dude, sitting here talking to you, like you are giving us everything that we've kind of been longing for, that we're sharing with everybody, that we're going through, and you have like amazing solutions.
And outside looking in, sorry to cut you off, it seems like you've got it figured out and all together. So I'm curious how long it took. And Pete, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, so like I said, I didn't have a pivotal moment. I started this journey about 10 years ago with those different goals.
Right.
But they really started to come into fruition within the last few years. And that's when I started learning more about the mind and brain health. So we went over the mind, like that, knowing that I can literally rewire. I'm not stuck the way I am. So that happened a couple years ago. Between the meditation and the therapy were at the same time. I was ramping them both up at the same time, and really just on a mission just to rewire my brain to be the person that I want to be.
It's incredible.
And I don't have it figured out.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but you started at such a young age, being so self-aware. I mean, you said you're 34 now?
yeah.
Yeah, but I
mean,
think he was pissed off, dude.
Yeah.
I think inside he knew that it wasn't right. He
Yeah,
didn't want
but
to fight
you-
people.
But
he
I
was
knew it wasn't
self-aware of
right.
that.
I wasn't self-aware enough. I wasn't mature enough, I'll say, at an earlier age to take the bull by the horns.
But the
So,
best
Dave,
takeaway
I gotta
from
give
this
you all
is
the credit in the world.
the best takeaway from this is that 38 isn't too late.
Ah,
55
absolutely.
isn't too late.
But
60 isn't
it's
too late.
shocking
You know?
that you had the wherewithal at such an early point in your life to take the bull by the horns. I mean, I'm 38. Pete's 36 or 37. And we're just really trying to hone in on how to better ourselves and take that step to find some inner peace.
Yeah.
And here you are. I'm not saying you've got it mastered or all figured out, but you've laid down a really solid foundation to provide some real knowledge to me and Pete and everybody watching, that hopefully everybody takes away something positive. I know I already have taken away something positive. But it's really impressive that at such a young age, when I would have been out drinking and hanging out and focused on whatever else and blaming everybody else for my problems, you fucking nutted up and got to it.
I was still simultaneously on this journey. I don't want to paint all rainbows. I was still doing that partying and all that stuff, but I was just like reading personal development books on the side, and like it was more about though accomplishing goals. And then but the more I learned about like accomplishing goals, like I wanted to be like the richest person in the world, but the more you start accomplishing goals and learning about like what it takes and the mindset that you have to have, the more you start learning about all of this other stuff as well. So that's where I was like, oh wow, like I can't accomplish my goals unless I get this other shit in place first.
True.
Because I have to become a new person.
It's just wild to me that you said that you struggled reading one page out of a book and actually retaining the information.
Yeah.
And you've gone on and just told us about all these things that you've taught yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, how could you read one page and not retain anything, yet you're able? It might be that, this is how it was for me. If I read something that I wasn't interested in, of course I can't retain it. But when you're diving in and you're seeking for answers, of course you're absorbing it. Of course you're looking for the next book or the next lesson because you want it, you need it. You know,
the inner champ in you has made you immerse yourself
that's it, brother.
in
Yeah, so that's a huge factor. Is like, I was never interested in whatever I was reading.
Right.
I was interested in this stuff. I was
somebody else
looking for
told
answers.
you, read this
I'm
book,
like, whatever.
do the paper.
Right. So that was one thing, and another thing is like my brain wasn't healthy. So first of all, we all played contact sports as we were growing up.
Yep.
So those contact sports, they have some injury to your brain.
Yep.
Even just like a little like knock on the head, that's going to impact your brain and the way you think and act. Being yelled at as a kid, that having that being in that fight or flight mode, that impacts your brain. So, and then it comes down to a lot of managing your dopamine. So we've talked a lot about dopamine.
Getting high on dope.
Yeah, man.
Mean.
Nah, mean.
So we need that on a shirt, by the way.
So dopamine's that feel-good, happy chemical in your brain. And there's healthy ways of releasing it, and there's unhealthy ways of releasing it. And the unhealthy ways come from that instant gratification, whereas the healthy ways are from delayed gratification. So an unhealthy way, that dopamine burst, that burst of dopamine would be like pulling out your phone. And each time you pull out your phone, that's a hit of dopamine. Then you go on social media, that's a hit of dopamine. And your phone could tell you now how many times you're pulling it out. People are 50, 100, 150 times a day. Like
sure.
Each time you pull it out, you're draining your dopamine. and then you eat a piece of junk food. So that sugar rush.
It feels good in the moment,
right. But boom, you're draining your dopamine.
Yeah.
You're depleting it. And then you're watching Netflix. That's depleting your dopamine. And then you're playing video games. Your dopamine hits, more dopamine, depleting your dopamine. Drinking alcohol, smoking weed. These are all dopamine bursts throughout the day. You're depleting it. What are you going to feel like? Well, that's the happy chemical is now depleted. It's going to affect your mood. You're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel down in the dumps. You're going to feel unmotivated. You're not going to be able to focus for nothing. Your memory is going to go to shit. You're going to have feelings of anxiety, depression. You're going to be angry. You don't have that feel good chemical. So that was a big thing for me, is learning how to manage my dopamine. I was able to increase my focus and my mood a lot more. And now I'm walking around with more energy and I'm focused better. My memory's better.
That's great. Is that how you wound up doing cold plunges? Because you hit me with a statistic earlier before we were filming that I found to be shocking about doing the cold plunge. And I actually might try it when you told me how much dopamine and how sustainable it is during the day.
Hours.
It's wild.
So you want to look for healthy dopamine hits because they're more sustainable. So my favorite is the cold plunge. Cold plunge, there's a study that shows that it could increase your dopamine by as high as 500%. So that's like 2 or 3 times as much as cocaine. So just like, that is like, and not only that, it's increasing your baseline for dopamine. So you're naturally walking around happier, in a better mood, with better focus. Like I hop out of there, my spidey senses are tingling, man. I'm able to focus, my memory, my decision making is better, my energy is higher, I'm happier. That's your baseline is higher. So you're naturally walking around like that. So cold plunge is an awesome way to do it. Another way is through certain diets, so certain foods. So a lot of like lean protein, salmon. Salmon's real high in DHA. That's really good for cognitive function and memory. Leafy green vegetables, blueberries, a lot of nuts and seeds like pumpkin seeds and walnuts. Dark chocolate, so not like a Hershey's bar that's like fake sugar, but like real, like 70% cacao, organic dark chocolate. That'll increase your dopamine. So it could be done through diet. And then really just, you want to work on incorporating your whole entire brain. So like I talked about that first 7 years of our life, how the left side of our brain is not fully developed. Well, if our parents weren't making a conscious intention to integrate that part of our brain during that time, you're going to struggle later on in life. And let's face it, no one's parents knew that back then, unless you're a neuroscientist or like a therapist.
I didn't know that until 5 minutes ago. So,
exactly.
I mean, I wouldn't have expected my dad to know that 30 plus years ago.
No doubt. So, like, no hard feelings.
Never.
But
I will take any tips you have on how I can approach my children at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if it's too late with my 8-year-old. I'm like,
no, never too late. So it's never. So this is stuff that I do for myself.
Yeah, if it's not too late for us, it's not too late for me. Right?
Exactly.
Or Max or Rosie.
So some things that you could do first is learning new skills and having new experiences. Those start to work that left side of your brain and starts to integrate your whole brain. And that's also accomplishing that neuroplasticity that we were talking about earlier. Another way is through puzzles. So I'll do like Sudoku. Like never in a million years. I didn't even know what Sudoku, I knew of it, but I had no idea what it was until I started researching this stuff like a couple of years ago. So that's now a part of my daily routine because it gets that side of the brain working. When your whole entire brain is working, it's healthier mentally. That's like awesome. You don't experience as much as that anxiety and that stress because you're tapping into your whole brain. Reading books, learning a new language, all that stuff. Anything that you could do that involves using that left side of your brain where you have to think and use logic.
So it sounds like daily self-improvement is the real recipe. I mean, you gave us so many different ingredients to the recipe, but like from a kind of like a macro type scale, it seems like that self-improvement journey, he said learning a new language, reading a book, like I think our brains are, as you're saying, like our brains want to be consuming these new things.
Well, it's a muscle,
what we get
Sure.
caught up in, though, and what I think from what you're saying, because we keep talking about depression, anxiety, suicide rate for males being super high. And it's always kind of like, well, why? And you know, we talked about, well, you know, dad looks different now. You know, dad used to go to work, have his beers, do his thing, maybe coach some teams. And now it's like, okay, dads are changing diapers. Dads are going to work. Dads are doing this. Dads are loving. And it's like, maybe that was all it. But then we also talk about the phone and how frequently are you on that phone. So we're human beings are now turning into these phone robots that are doing more harm than good. We're not on a daily self-improvement journey. We're checking notifications. Our dopamines are getting all messed up and everything else. But yeah, man, that self-improvement daily journey. I wanted to ask you about your goals.
Sure.
Are these daily goals, or are these like long-term goals that you're getting daily reps in on?
So
or both?
I have daily goals. I have weekly goals.
Cool.
And then I have goals for 3 years out. So as humans, we tend to overestimate what we could accomplish in a year, but we underestimate what we could accomplish in 3 years. 100%. So I set my goals for 3 years out, and then daily goals, because if you want to measure your progress and like pat yourself on the back when it feels good to accomplish something, right? So having those little daily goals feels good. And what I haven't mentioned yet, so we've talked a lot about the importance of brain health and mindset and mind health, and a lot of that comes from gratitude. Gratitude has like absolutely changed my life. It's a skill that you have to develop. It's being grateful for everything that you have right now, everyone around you. And it's a practice that I've started to do, because I feel that gratitude is the gateway to anything that you want in life. And that'll really, it keeps you grounded. It keeps you in the present moment. There's a saying that if you're depressed, you're living in the past, right? You're thinking about something from the past, something that happened yesterday or a year ago. You're beating yourself up, or you're embarrassed about something, whatever it may be, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. You're worried about something. How's this going to play out? What is going to happen here? And the future is filled with uncertainty. It's always going to be filled with uncertainty. And uncertainty causes anxiety. And there was a study done at Penn State that 90% of the things that we worry about tend to not even come true.
Not even come true.
Right. So if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. And gratitude helps keep me in the present.
See, I have to figure out how to be more in the present, because I'm filled with anxiety.
Sure.
I'm always living for tomorrow.
Sure.
And, you know, I feel like I miss a lot of really great moments in life by not being in that present. I mean, listen, I'm happy every day I get to be with my kids.
Sure.
I'm happy on the football field. I'm happy watching my daughter do cheerleading, whatever it is. I'm there for it, and I'm present for that. But in the back of my mind, I'm really distracted and consumed with what's coming later or tomorrow. Yeah, I can't shut that part of my brain off, or at least I haven't figured out how to yet.
Sure.
We could start doing some cold plunges.
Yeah.
Be a little more thankful, even though I do believe I have began, and I do agree. Being thankful and appreciative for what I have has given me a much better outlook on life, because I'm blessed in a lot of cases. I have a beautiful family, a beautiful home. I have a great support system in my friends and family. And without that, I'm not sure where I'd be.
Sure.
But I do know that all the anxiety I get worked up over, I know if like shit hit the fan, I have enough people behind me that I could call, and I got somebody that's going to be there. So sitting here saying
That's
that
fantastic.
makes me wonder why I'm getting so worked up about it and why I'm not enjoying that present and being happy more.
Sure.
You know, I don't know. I gotta work on myself more. I need to bring out my inner champ and really embrace that. And I appreciate all that insight. We're here to self-reflect, and that kind of hits home, because I'm always anxious. I'm always wound up. There's never a moment that I'm just level and at peace, and I really want to find that now.
Yes. So I think what really helps with me is just journaling. It's like when you start feeling that like anxiety and you're thinking about the future, like, what are you thinking about? Write it all down. Half the time as I'm writing what I'm anxious about, I'm like, this doesn't even resonate with me right now.
This is ridiculous.
Like you start problem solving it right then and there, and it's like you can let it go.
Yeah.
And then also like thinking about like, okay, what are you anxious about? Can you solve that right here and now? If you can, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
If not, schedule it. When can you do it? You sounds like you typically like to do it before the day starts at 6. Okay, fine. I'm going to do it then. I'm letting it go now. Now, just whatever it is, think about something positive, whatever that is.
How did you find the ability to actually do that, though?
I would meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation. Just the more I do it, the more I am just at peace, and I'm able to kind of rationalize. And then also the brain health. If you're constantly draining that dopamine, you're not going to be able to think rational. And
we talk a lot about the phones, Billy.
Oh man,
the phone might be fucking
it's the hardest thing in the world to
well,
stop.
it is, and especially for me, you know, I work all the time. It's just like Pete. I'm available to people as much as possible. The other night we're eating dinner, and Max had his iPad at the table, and I was like, he's blasting this Hudson Playground video, whatever. I was like, bro, we're at the dinner table. Put your iPad away. And I'm on my phone 2 minutes later, and he called me out on it. Now, my son Max is 6, and I looked at him. I was like, you know what, bud? You're right. And I went and plugged my phone in on the charger on the other side of the kitchen, and I sat and ate dinner. But when we were younger, like my dad wasn't on the phone all the time. I mean,
it wasn't an option.
It wasn't an option.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing. You couldn't check emails from your phone. Like, and if you wanted to check your email, you had to wait for somebody not to be on the house phone or you know, whatever it was. So if my mother was on the phone with my aunt, I couldn't go on like AOL or Prodigy or whatever. Like, and my dad couldn't do whatever he wanted to do. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a different
Everyone
world.
was a little bit more present back then.
Yeah, it's
a
that
lot
instant
more present
gratification
back then.
we talked about. You know,
Yeah.
I watch my kids or I watch myself. I pick up my phone, I go on Facebook, swipe.
Yeah.
Instagram, swipe. I'm watching Dave's
Feels
videos.
great,
I'm watching Dave's videos. But my kid is on his iPad, and now he's conditioned, and I wonder where he's going to be in 30 years because they're watching, YouTube Shorts now, and it's
17 seconds, whatever it is.
We're on to the next one. On to the next one.
They're diagnosing a lot of kids with ADHD, but it's not.
Yeah, but I don't think it's real ADHD. I think
agree.
it's a learned behavior. I had this argument with my wife the other day. My kid cannot. And I'm not saying he can't focus.
Right.
He doesn't focus maybe as well as I would like to see him focus.
Sure.
You know, we're doing his math homework and he's like, all over the place. He's 6.
Sure.
Cool, normal. But we have to take some responsibility and accountability that he could be doing better if he wasn't just
Right.
Maybe I'm not going to say I'm an absentee parent. I'm not letting the iPad raise my kid, but maybe I need to really reevaluate my decision for him being on there. I mean, he's outside
I think we need
all
an
day.
action plan. Because what I just visualized was you and Max meditating together.
That's fantastic,
because
man.
he's kind of overstimulated we are. You know, you need. A few times the answer has been meditation.
Yeah.
And we're all about just trying things. And maybe meditation doesn't work for you. But what I'm picturing.
Maybe it does, though.
That's what I'm saying.
I haven't tried it, so
what
I don't
I'm picturing
know.
is you and Max meditating together.
Oh, man.
Get him right
I'm gonna try
and get
it.
you
That'd
right
be
simultaneously.
awesome. Yeah.
We're going to bring Dave back on for the follow-up for the results.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to actually try it. I mean, do you think I could actually get my... I don't know how to meditate.
You can't.
I'm going to figure it out, but do you think I get my 6-year-old son to
Yeah,
try
I
to
got
meditate?
I got my 4-year-old doing it. Even I got my 3-year-old doing it. My 2.5-year-old.
Yeah, dude, they're sponges.
It's gonna start a minute at a time.
Yeah,
maybe.
but I don't know if I could get him to do that for him. I don't know if I could get me to do it.
You can. And you could do it yourself too, especially before bed. Because your morning sounds pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
My mornings are hectic, but
can you
I thrive on that.
Yeah, can you open? Yeah, but you thrive, but it sounds like it's doing more harm than good.
Right.
It is, but it also jumpstarts me.
It does, but can you create some time in the morning?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I could wake up earlier.
So
I wake up at 5.
Max. So maybe you and Max do your thing.
Max is not waking up at
No. I'm saying at night. At night, you guys do your thing, and then you find a solid 10 to 15 minutes of meditation.
Yeah.
Or even just start with breath work, teaching them breath work. Hey,
too.
man, you're having some big emotion. That's fantastic.
So for the last 3 or 4 years, when he gets like emotional, I make him take 5 deep breaths in his nose, out his mouth, and it actually does work. It brings him down, So like if he's welling up with emotion, he's teary eyed or whatever, and I don't know, maybe he loves riding his bike or whatever. So if I make him come inside to do his homework, my kid is not the kid to sit inside and be on his iPad all day. He is on his iPad, but he wants to be outside.
Sure.
When I tell him to come in, he gets angry. He gets mad. He gets emotional, especially if we have to read or we have to do schoolwork. So we have implemented take 5 deep breaths, and we're gonna reboot. Or I'll tell him, like, go take a walk around the family room, take some deep breaths, come back, dry your eyes, and we're gonna refocus on schoolwork after that. So like I am really trying to get him to focus in on managing his emotions. But now I feel like an idiot because I'm 38 and I can't figure out how to manage my emotions.
Well, the best
but I'm
way,
trying to teach my 6-year-old.
Right,
yeah,
right.
the best way that you're going to be able to teach him is going to be for you to take these things, take the bull by the horns, just like Dave did. I had to take the bull by the horns last year when I was super down and out. I landed on my face. I was in the ambulance. I had no driver's license. Like, I felt like the whole world was coming down on me, dude. I felt like I hit rock bottom until we talked to Danny Reagan and he described what rock bottom really is. And I was like, oh, damn. I was doing freaking backstrokes in the pool and I'm calling it rock bottom,
It's funny you mention that,
rock
they
bottom,
do,
though,
right. But to me, that was my bottom,
Sure.
but that's the best. The bottom is the best time to scramble for those. So you're at least addressing these things.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have Dave here who is
insight.
a walking example of this stuff. And it's so much nicer coming from Dave. Like, he practices what he preaches, but sometimes when people try to give you advice, it's like, oh, do this. And Dave's like, hey, dude, I was fucking struggling too, man. I'm still struggling. But these are the things I'm doing for me,
If I don't do this stuff, I go back to that crazy, angry, like impatient. Like, I'll be yelling at my kids. And if I don't do I'll be yelling at my wife. I have to do this stuff to be the best version of myself. If I don't do that, then my emotions will get the best of me. My anxiety will get the best of me.
But now you were talking earlier about, before we started filming, mushrooms and certain benefits you get from certain types of mushrooms. And it's funny that you had mentioned that because we were talking about Danny with experimental treatments with microdosing with psychedelics and ketamine treatments, things that are coming out today that he's finding benefit with, and obviously in different capacities. You want to elaborate on some of those? Because, I mean, it was very interesting for me to hear that.
Sure.
And then Ev was chiming in about lion's mane, and I'm not really certain what that means, but I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, so I'm always interested in different types of natural, holistic ways that I could enhance my brain and my mental well-being. So I came across mushrooms, and there's all different types of mushrooms. So these are stuff that you could order online. I partnered up with Life Cycle. It's a company that does third-party testing. They're awesome. But so some of the mushroom tinctures that I take, one is reishi. I take reishi before bed. It helps you alleviate stress, and it helps you to increase your REM sleep. So your REM sleep is when your brain is going to work and it's forming memories and it's kind of putting together everything that you learned during the day, and it's really helping you get that really good quality sleep. So reishi increases that, and man, I take that and my sleep has gotten so much better.
My sleep is jacked up. Not to cut you off, but my sleep is jacked up, dude. I snore real hard. Been talking to my wife about sleep in particular, and do you
wake up a lot?
No, I don't wake up, but I don't really, I could sleep for 12 hours, and I think my REM numbers are probably super low because I'll wake up exhausted. I snore. I got a deviated septum in my nose. I'm really glad that you're bringing that up, and I've been snoring for a long time. And then I used to think it was the drinking, that had bad sleep, and I thought that's why I'm tired and different things. And we're talking about testosterone levels and different things too. But I'm glad you brought up the sleep component because sleep is so important.
Oh my gosh,
I agree.
It is so important for your mental health, and to continue to manage those emotions throughout the day. But also, like we talked about neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain, one of the most effective ways to do that is through quality sleep. And I was never a good sleeper. I always considered myself a night owl.
Same.
I even used to work jobs where I would request the night shift.
Yeah.
I was
second wind.
I really had to get my sleep under control. And a really effective way I did that was implementing what I call the 3-2-1 rule. So no food or water 3 hours before bed, because once you start, if you eat food within that window, you start digesting it, and then your body temperature starts to raise. And when you're going to sleep, your body temperature starts to decrease. So if it's starting to raise, it's thinking, oh, I'm supposed to be awake right now. So
but
you
it's
don't want to
digesting in that time, right? That's why it gets warm. Because that actually happened to me last night. I'm glad you said that. I'm a late night snacker. I have like cereal every night.
Sure.
And I definitely drinking water. Definitely going down to the kitchen a few different times. And it's funny you said that because last night I turned the fan on. It was like cold downstairs. But as I was trying to shut down, I was hot, dude. I turned the fan on. And that was my body digesting. Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
As you digest, your body temperature increases, and we want to decrease it as we're going to bed. So that's one thing I stopped is 3 hours before bed, no food. And I was like you, I was a late night snacker. So it was tough, but I started noticing a shift right away. So that, and then 2 hours before bed, no work. Shut it down. 2 hours before bed. There's no reason. What if you fell asleep right then and there, right? There's no reason to be working 2 hours before bed. Shut it down. And, if you're in high school, like no homework, like get it done beforehand. No work 2 hours before bed. And the last thing, 1 hour before bed, no screen time. Get off that phone. Don't be falling asleep with Netflix on because that blue light that's emitting off the TV, off your phone, that messes with your melatonin production, which is the sleep hormone that regulates your sleep. So it's going to really mess up your sleep. And so that's the 3-2-1 rule. And then, like I said, reishi. Started taking reishi, and man, I also meditate right before I go to sleep. So I noticed like my meditations have just been that much more powerful too. Like I feel like, I don't know, this energy that
Now,
reishi.
do you have a video associated with the meditation, or are you at a point now where you're just doing all this on your own?
No, so I do it all on my own, but
cool.
I do suggest like try those different apps out. They're fantastic. That's how I started out, and every now and then I'll throw on a guided meditation. Like I just want to. Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like meditation for beginners? Would I look it up on YouTube?
That's what I do, YouTube. But that's what I was asking because I'm like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I want to meditate before bed again, but now I broke number one because I'm on the phone while I'm meditating. So,
but you're not going to be like staring at it.
It's not there. I'll kind of leave it on my chest.
It's going to be in the background.
Right. Yeah. So that's reishi. We were talking about mushrooms. That's reishi.
And that'll give you like a deeper sleep.
Yeah, it'll give you a fantastic night's sleep.
Because I noticed for me, if let's say I go to bed at 9:30.
Sure.
I'll wake up. I wake up like 3 times through the night, but I'll wake up at, let's say 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'll feel awesome. I'll wake up and I think it's time to get up and go to work. I go back to bed.
Yeah.
I wake up a little bit. I look at the phone. I go back to bed just to see what time it is.
Sure.
And then I wake up at 5 and I'm like fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
So that first window of sleep, I wake up and I feel refreshed after 3 hours.
Right.
I don't know what's going on after that though. And I cannot sleep through the night.
Well, your sleep cycles, once you wake up and then you hit snooze and then you go back to sleep, like this isn't an instance that you're hitting snooze, but that next sleep that you get into, it's supposed to be a longer period than what you're allowing.
So you're
and that's kind of playing into some of these negative thoughts too, because if I hit the snooze button and I fall back into this really deep sleep for 15 minutes, I feel very anxious when I come out of that.
Sure.
I feel I don't like my thoughts. I don't like how I'm feeling.
Right.
And
because your brain still wants to be in that deep sleep, but you're up and at it.
Yep.
So it's jumping from
try
different.
the reishi.
Yeah, try the reishi, man.
And I can get that life cycle you said.
Life cycle, yeah. There's a link in my bio on my Instagram.
And your Instagram is the Inner Champ, right?
Inner Champ LLC. Yeah, you could click the link in my bio and you use coupon code Inner Champ. You get a discount. And then there's 2 others that I take. So quadriceps, I take that with my breakfast because it gives you a sick energy boost without like the jittery, without the the pre-workouts that give you that C4 used to. I loved it, man.
Yeah,
you get
it's a love hate.
But man, there's so much garbage in that. It's just so not good for you in the long run. So if you're looking for a good pre-workout, try the quadriceps mushrooms. And then last but not least is the lion's mane. I went from thinking I had ADHD to just being absolutely dialed in on tasks. It increases your focus and your memory, and just helps keep you dialed in. Yeah.
That's amazing. I feel like the introduction to mushrooms was just way off because like they used to like hand you like a gram of them. And like hope for the best hours later. And like it gave like a terrible, because you know, I was maybe 20 years old when I experienced that. And like, I don't want to go back to that. That was a bug out, dude. It was like the night before the first day of college.
Yeah.
I was in my own head so bad.
Yeah.
It was like awful. But like, it's not the same mushrooms.
Right.
Like, that's not what we're.
And
it's not what we're looking for.
I mean, I've read a lot. They do serve their purpose.
Oh, I'm sure.
When in a controlled, you know,
much
you have
different than we were instructed.
Yeah.
Now, I've been deathly afraid to take mushrooms. My first experience with mushrooms, I was an observer. We were in somebody's garage. I'm 17 years old. It was the night before Easter. I think I was a senior in high school. My man had a fucking bad trip. It went really poor. My friend's mom had to call the cops.
Oh,
went
no.
to the hospital, strapped to the bed, the whole 9
You
yards.
were?
No, not me.
buddy. Oh, your
I
friend?
was just watching.
Yeah.
I didn't take a mushroom. Because of this, I will never touch a mushroom. I mean, I might try the reishi and the lion's
Then I'd
mane.
say-
Right.
But the ones that you're buying from like Bob down the street out of his garage, probably not for me, bud.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm going to mind my own business on that one. But
I hear you on
you know,
that.
I think you're right. I think we were taught, you know, that side, not the holistic healing,
medicinal,
medicinal side.
And the fact that Danny brought that up, like, I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like, when he said it, because everything was about sobriety.
Yeah.
And now I hear this term, and I'm thinking about, you know, bugging out in my dorm room
Right,
because I ate a whole bag of these
But
things.
you had a
and-
different intention when you're doing
100%.
it than what, you know, Danny's doing it in a controlled environment with a certain mindset and a certain setting in mind, and
with a purpose.
with a
for
purpose for
solutions and healing. Exactly.
Like,
So, you know, now that we're kind of talking back about drugs a little bit, I was talking to you a little bit before about Coach Nooch. Now, you know, we've spoke about how getting this tidal wave of drugs that took over, and you know, it took over the whole country. And I just got the chills thinking about you guys, man, because I know that Hazlitt, you know, another blue collar, hard working town, was taken over as well. But there's something way different about Coach Nooch that a lot of other towns didn't see, whether maybe the teams weren't necessarily hit, or the coaches were a little bit naive, or maybe the households weren't necessarily hit the way Nooch was, or it wasn't one of the athletes. Talk a little bit about, you know, that Raritan program and really what they're doing with the drug awareness. And because, dude, it's amazing what they're doing. And I can't think of any other towns doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
So Nooch has just been so phenomenal. He was a coach that he cared more about you as a person and as a man and how you were off the mat than you were on the mat. And because of that, you felt like you could go to him for anything. It could be 2:00 in the morning on a Tuesday night, and you can call him up and he's going to answer the phone. And he did that. I couldn't even put pen to paper how many times he's done that and been there for people and pulled people off the streets, guys on our teams that were that got addicted. And he's just always been at the forefront advocating for, you know, what an issue this is and how we can make changes. And there was a guy that struggled with it named Phil O'Hara that I wrestled with, and he went through the struggle of being addicted, breaking it, getting back on it, and it was a struggle for him, and Nooch was always there in his corner. And together, you know, Phil ended up finding a good rehab and really turning his life around and making such a difference. And now he's back in Hazlitt and trying to apply those same concepts. And he's with the recovery program right now, and they're tackling it head on, man. And they're doing charities and speaking at different places, and it's really amazing. It's really awesome to see, because he's always been doing this.
Right.
He's just getting more of a platform, and he's getting more recognized for it
through Phil. And
100%.
Phil has been a huge inspiration. I love everything that he's doing, but yeah, I mean, now that you're kind of playing back Nooch a little bit more, because I really only know some of these guys from afar, and I have mad respect for him even prior to that. It's just like you could just tell, you know. And he's just one of those guys that the kids want to come back. But so basically, you know, Nooch has been this guy for a long time. Phil fell on hard times. He had to create all this good for himself. And it kind of piggybacked with Nooch and kind of gave Nooch a set of wings to put eyes on something that really we wouldn't have seen without Phil.
Right,
and Phil's struggle and, you know, him taking the bull by the horns.
Yeah, they just have a great success story together. They're doing a phenomenal job, and I just love to see more of it, because it's just so sad, because I mean, I know of like 50 people, like 50 people since I've graduated high school that we've lost to this. So, and that's kind of also like why I got into what I'm doing. It's just because a lot of it comes down to that mental health, that brain health.
100%.
So.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the people that are kind of going into that route, if they had some of your tools that they were able to implement for themselves, I don't think they would really need to lean into the drugs all that much, because a lot of the answers are right there.
Well, a lot of that is masking, right? You're not coping with your daily struggles.
Yeah, and we were talking about festering things in.
Yeah.
You know,
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, you're masking all that shit. You're keeping it inside. You got to have an outlet. So, you know, we've had some great conversation today. A lot of the tools that you discussed today can be applied to many different parts of life, whether it's drinking or drugs, parenting, business, personal goals, just to improve myself. You provided a lot of value here today.
Thank
Dave.
you, man.
A lot.
That's all I'm trying to do out here. I've made such a massive impact on myself.
Good.
And I feel so much better and happier and more at peace. And it's made such a positive impact on those around me. And I once read, I don't know who it was that said this, but in order to find your purpose, figure out something that you're really good at, that you really enjoy, figure out the current skills you have, and then figure out a way to help other people with it.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I got into this. I didn't really want to be posting on Instagram and coming on these podcasts.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job of it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So then that's what that's why I do it, hearing stuff like that and hearing that, you know, I have people reaching out to me from like India, like from all over the world, saying like, your page has been so helpful. It's changed my life. I'm like humbled.
That's incredible.
Like, so that's what I do it for. I'm like, it's helped me. It's got to be able to help other people. And if I could do one dent in the world, if I can make one difference, it's, you know, I'm going to do it through my platform.
Yeah, but you're genuine. So there's a lot of people out there that have a platform. There's people with 1 million followers that probably aren't practicing what they preach, and sometimes you could see through that.
Sure.
When we're sitting
noticeable
here,
template, he's got like a glow about him.
Yeah, you know like the way you talk about it, the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself, the passion comes through, and you can tell you actually practice what you preach.
It's a whole lifestyle.
It's not bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not bullshit. You're not sitting up there putting forth this ulterior ego or to further yourself. You're actually trying to help people.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you started with helping yourself.
Yeah.
Now, have you had any conversations with the Zanetti boys with the wrestling mindset?
A little bit. It's fun. We used to just chop it up like at a tournament, but it was about this stuff. Kind of like,
really?
Yeah, like
Gene or Jeff or both?
Both.
Okay.
I'd see them at like a tournament, and I would just kind of pick their brain because I was getting really into this type of stuff.
Yeah, because like when I've been following those guys for a while, and I've been saying, you know, that we drill 100% physical, 0% mental.
Yeah.
You know, where those guys now they have the wrestling mindset,
really
and now
cool,
their
man.
platform is going to other
Really
sports.
cool.
Where I feel like your piggyback is outside of the sports, like real life, like probably adults. You know, where like the kids, the kids need to hear the wrestling mindset stuff.
Right.
But
I know for me,
I think what you have is like seriously life changing.
Look at the impact of just sitting here for me. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to try cold plunge. We're going to try and get my 6-year-old to meditate.
Right.
You be doing puzzles?
So,
I'm sitting here.
No doubt.
It's, you know, we're here an hour. And real life adult, you have impacted. So outside of an athletics world, you could touch people.
I love that. That's a goal, because not only that, if I'm impacting adults, they're going to impact their kids.
Yes.
And then those kids are going to have those habits and those mindsets, and they're going to be thinking that way, and then they're naturally going to pass that on to their kids.
And maybe that's the change that we need.
Right.
Maybe it's a lot simpler than we're feeling right
trickle down
now.
effect.
You know?
And it starts with this stuff like this. You guys are getting on this podcast and bringing on people and we're talking about all these different solutions, what we struggle with, and the answers that we found. And then it's like, oh, okay, because everybody's dealing with it, whether they know it or not, or whether they admit it or not. We're all dealing with it. And it's about how are we managing with it? What works for you, man? What works for you? And the more we're sharing these types of stories and tips and stuff, the more people are going to learn and pass that on to the next generation, and so on and so forth. That's what jacks me up. Like,
I can tell, dude. I freaking love it.
You bring good energy, and you bring good stuff. Like, we discussed it a few times, especially when we were talking about suicide. I've said, and I still stand behind this, I don't think, if we're being honest with ourselves, I don't think there's one person that could say they've never had a suicidal thought. I don't mean holding a gun to your head and actually considering pulling the trigger, but just the thought.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a negative thought like that?
I've had thoughts of like, I wonder what it would be like if I wasn't here.
This is what I'm talking about. But everybody gets to that dark place, right?
But was that? I'm sorry, Billy. Was that in a tough moment that you had that, or was that just kind of like something popped in your head?
I can't think of like a specific moment, but I could tell you it was most likely when I was doing a lot of drinking, smoking a lot of weed, eating a lot of junk food, and just putting a lot of pressure on myself.
Not the best mindset.
Right, just all the stuff when you're not taking care of your brain and your mind, you're gonna have unhealthy thoughts and stuff.
That's the point. But you have to be honest about that.
Right.
People have to be honest to receive that information. They might not want to tell me or tell you or tell Pete, but hopefully somebody watching this hears it.
Sure.
And they know, like, it's okay. Like, I can embrace what Dave's saying. Or, wow, Pete went through something similar. Bill felt the same way, maybe. They can take what you're preaching and put it to practice a little bit. Like I'm gonna. I mean, I'm not telling you I'm gonna go home tonight and get my 6-year-old to meditate, but we're gonna try and figure out how we can implement those strategies.
Let's get 1% better every day.
That's it, man. That's it. Doesn't Coach Goodell say that?
He might.
At Rutgers, I mean, that's something that we keep bringing that up all the time. Getting 1% better every single day, and it compounds over time.
Right, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. How was it wrestling for Goody?
It was a trip, man.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's a good dude.
But I mean, like we were talking before, like you guys are pretty much like laying the foundation over there.
Yeah.
Like, you guys pretty much were the bridge.
Yeah, we were
to the Big Ten. You guys were the bridge to the Big Ten.
My freshman year, we were number 3 recruiting class in the nation.
Damn.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Jersey kids in that lineup.
It was all Jersey. It was all Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Yeah. It was really cool.
Well, that was like the last heyday of like Region 6 at its very best.
Yeah.
Those days were incredible.
Yeah. Oh my, the gauntlet.
They really were. And when did you graduate high school?
2007.
Okay.
We had 26 state place winners.
That was the year, right?
Yeah,
like
that
Jimmy
was
Lawson
the year.
Was Jimmy Lawson with those guys? Some of those
Jimmy
years I get a little bit convoluted.
The year after, the year before.
Yeah, but that was like Scotty Winston.
Yeah. Vinny Delphi.
That was the picture that out of 14 weight classes, Region 6 had how many champs or finalists?
Yeah, like half of them.
Remember those days, Ev?
Region 6. There were so many guys that never made it to states out of Region 6 that would have placed in states if they were in any other region.
100%.
That was like, and if you did make it out of regions, you're placing. Maybe like it was such a tough region, man. It was like you say you're from Region 6 back then, you wear that badge of honor.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. And everyone was under one roof back then. And now, I don't know how familiar you are with high school wrestling these days, but Howell and Del Barton are in the same region now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they kind of plug and play on locations. I know. I know. Even districts looks way different now. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
But what district are you guys? 22? 22, yeah. So it was all kind of neighboring schools. You kind of knew everybody.
Everybody.
Different clubs. And now they're just like piecemealing from all over the state, which the ultimate goal is to get the best kids on the podium and get the best kids to AC. So I think it's working, but it's just different.
I get it.
It's just different.
It's like a hate-love, right? Because you're like, oh, man.
I know.
That ain't nothing like when we were in high school.
Exactly. Showing up with your varsity jacket on at Regions.
Yeah, man. That was Good times, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know, man. But it's one of those things, I was with the high school kids on Friday, and I just try to let them know that, like, your time to compete is very limited. Like, you don't feel that way while you're in it. You feel like you're going to do this forever. Even in college, like, it's like that 4 years goes so fast, but while you're in it feels like you're going to be there forever.
Sure.
And you miss out on a lot of whether you're not grateful for another opportunity to compete.
Right.
Or, you don't necessarily appreciate the things around you. Be careful what you wish for, young people, because once that door closes, it's closed for good.
It's over.
Unless you want to, do the Fat and Bald Classic at Brick Memorial. Like, leave it all on the mat, man. Leave it all on the mat while you can.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Do you ever dream about wrestling? Like,
oh, yeah.
I still have, like, dreams, like, I'm walking out of the tunnel at Raritan to a packed crowd. Like,
Pete still wrestles.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I'm kind of living a wrestling dream right now.
Yeah.
I really, truly am.
That's awesome.
And it's been
cool.
amazing because, I've said before that, like, who I am as Coach Pete is kind of like what I thought I needed as an athlete. I'm trying to give
awesome,
that,
man.
So now I have a wrestling club, and I have tots, youth, a high school class, and now I have an in-between. I have, like, what I'm calling resource room wrestling.
Nice.
So there's, like, 6 kids in a group.
Cool.
And, like, they're all kind of in middle school. And I said, no, you guys are going to have homework. So we're going to do top, bottom, and neutral. I want you to write down your 3 best moves. I want you to write down your 3 problem areas in both and the mindset, skill set. So that's going to be something that I'm going to kind of add into them and go over this manifesting.
Oh, man,
self-belief, like all the things that, like, we know now as, like, washed up guys, like, we know we could have utilized. I'm trying to give them all the tools possible.
Yeah.
But like Coach Nooch, dude, winning on the mat's cool and all, but I care about, like, what kind of dad are you going to turn out to be?
Absolutely.
What kind of husband are you going to be? What kind of man are you going to be?
Absolutely.
When wrestling's all said and done.
Yeah, but you shape so many people, not just in a wrestling
I don't
room.
doubt that. Yeah.
I mean, bro, you're the example that these boys need.
You know what?
Girls.
And I'm glad to hear that, but I'm also glad that my journey, like, I was one of the kids that I took 4th in the region back when they only take 3. I lost in the semifinals, then I won a wrestle back, then I lost. But I'm glad that I was the kid under the bleachers crying. Like, in those moments, I wish I wasn't.
Of course.
I wish, I watched everybody that won
and,
my teammates that were state champs, and I watched them go accomplish their goals. I'm almost glad that I fell short because I learned a lot. And coming with that, I can relate to those kids. Like, I could see the kid that looked like me. Yeah, but I could see the kid that looks like me now, that was scared shitless, deer in the headlights. Like, I see that guy now, and I'm like, yo, come here, dude.
Nice.
Put on a fun song, go in the back gym, get your
amazing,
mind off of this, take a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
So,
really
where some of the guys that things might have came easier, their wrestling journey was amazing, they might look past that kid that's a nervous wreck and has the sweaty palms because they can't really relate to that guy. No knock on those guys. I mean, great job on your career. Yeah. But, I can kind of see the kids that need the helping hand.
I love the way you reframed that situation. Because there's people that will be in your shoes today still beating themselves up under the bleachers.
Oh, yeah.
But you reframed it, and it's like a kind of saying that I live by, and it sounds like you kind of did the same thing, is life happens for me, not to me. That moment happened for you.
Yep.
Would you take that moment if you could change 100 other kids' lives? Like,
no, that would be selfish as hell if I did.
Yeah, but that moment made you who you are today. So that's why you're able to do that.
Yeah, man. So that was really cool because it sounds like you kind of that's the mindset, the approach that you're taking to that right now.
Yeah,
awesome.
and thankful to other coaches and kids and families to bring my coaching skills to my awareness because I was always just kind of just like, oh, dude, I'm just trying to help, like, however I can. I was kind of downplaying it, up until late, and now we got some great momentum going with the wrestling club, and I'm trying to. Kind of like what you were saying earlier about, like, finding something that you love at the core. Like, I love helping these kids,
That's amazing, man.
And I kind of downplayed that for a while up until kind of recently. And I'm like finding my stride.
Man.
I'm like,
own that 100%, man. It's not even about being like cocky, because I feel like that's sometimes what we get worried about as wrestlers.
100%.
Growing up in this egoic sport, like you're always like I even to my wife, like I'll have to like feel like I have to explain myself, like, hey, I'm saying this, but not because I'm being cocky or like this isn't my because I was like that for so long.
It's so real.
But you can be proud of what you're doing and who you are without being cocky.
Exactly,
and
confident, not cocky.
And it won't come off as cocky either because it's authentic, it's true, and
it's so funny that you even said that because I would say, like, I never want to come across as cocky.
Right.
But that almost leads me to like insecurities.
Right.
So like
right.
the balancing act there is like, no, confidence.
Right.
Like,
just confidence.
Just be you.
Just
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
you. Just
own
own
it.
it. If
Yeah.
I'm an awesome coach and I enjoy doing this and I know I'm helping a bunch of kids and I freaking love it. And that's
Hell yeah.
it. That's period.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
you know?
End the story. Think what you want.
And if somebody says, oh, he's cocky, well, you know what? That's on you. I'm not in charge of how you feel and how
100%.
you think.
100%. But you are in charge of how you feel, man.
No doubt.
Yeah, but other people's insecurities make them think you're cocky.
100%.
So your confidence
100%.
affects them.
100%.
Not because you're wrong,
Yeah, that's on them.
because they're not confident or comfortable with who they are.
Yeah.
You know what? And I like to say is like, and that person that wants to point out and try to twist it and say you're cocky, hurt people.
Yeah.
They're going through their own shit, man. And they're just projecting, they're trying to take it out. So I understand where it's coming from. And I almost have empathy for them. Like, you know what? Like, if you want to like hate on me, like you got your
If I got to
own
be the
shit
bad
going
guy
on.
to make you feel better,
Like whatever,
so
man.
be it. I know where I'm at.
Right. I'm confident in who I am and what I'm doing, but I actually feel a little sorry for you. I got a soft spot because I know that all that hate, that jealousy, that whatever shit you're trying to push out onto me, that's coming from your own.
Yep.
You're going through your own shit, whether you know it or not, too.
For sure.
You know.
For sure. Well, we got a lot of great things. I knew today was going to be amazing, but
it was good.
I mean, it just completely exceeded expectations. Like,
Good,
dude,
man.
you are the man. I'm so
Thank you.
glad you've taken the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're not walking around pissed off at the world anymore,
Nah,
freaking
yeah.
trying to fight everybody.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but yeah, man. If you guys are struggling, I know this dude could help. You know, find him at Inner Champ LLC.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. You know, this is a great platform that you guys are putting together, and it's inspiring. And I'm just glad that I was able to come on and kind of share my story. And yeah, if you want to reach out, my website is innerchampllc.com or Instagram and TikTok. You can find me at Innerchamp LLC. And you know, I'm posting all kinds of like little nuggets like this. So even if you just want to like look for a source of inspiration or something, there you could check those videos out.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
we really
guys.
appreciate
You're the man,
it.
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
man.
brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Man, appreciate it.